I'm your host, John Kramer, and you're watching the Star Wars Generation. You're watching the Star Wars Generation rant number 3. I hated Rogue One. I hated The Last Jedi. I need the Han Solo movie to be good. So please, help me, Obi-RON Kenobi. You're my only hope. Today's rant is an open letter to Ron Howard, director of the new Han Solo movie. Now, Ron, I know you got handed a mess. I know you got handed a movie midway through production. But Ron, don't let that get you down. Some of the greatest movies ever changed directors midway through. For instance, The Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind, and Spartacus. Now, Ron, I have hope in you. And I have hope because the other day I was digging through my old comic books and I came upon this. The comic book adaptation of the movie Willow. And it says right on the front, the official comics adaptation of the spectacular new movie from Lucasfilm. This is a story by George Lucas, directed by none other than you, Ron Howard. Now, was this my favorite movie? No, not at all. Not at all. But that's not a problem, because I do know certain people whose favorite movie it is. And the reason why, Ron, is because you didn't attempt to make an epic like The Wizard of Oz or Spartacus. You made a movie that appealed to a particular fan base. You made a movie that appealed to people who like fantasy films, such as the movie Dragon Slayer, made for people who like dragons. It was not made for someone who wanted a romantic comedy. It was not made for someone who wanted a war movie. It was made for someone who likes dragons. And as a result, the fan base liked the film. Or, for instance, Excalibur was made for people who like Arthurian legend. It was not made for someone who wanted a sports movie. It was made for someone who likes knights and swords. And as a result, it was a successful movie because the fan base liked it. Or even Blade Runner. Blade Runner is actually a rather slow movie, and it's dark and it's dismal. But it's a good movie because it was made for people who wanted cyberpunk. One of the greatest fantasy movies ever, Highlander. Yes, it's cheesy. Yes, it's about sword fighting in modern day New York City. But I love the movie, and so do the fans, because it was made for people who like fantasy. The directors didn't listen to the studios. The directors didn't listen to what the general public wanted. They made a movie that reached out particularly to the fan base. Now, Ron, you also made a movie called Apollo 13. And yes, this was not a George Lucas film, and I know that it's science fact and not science fiction. But it goes to show that you know how to make a movie about space. Now, Ron, space is dark. Space is cold. Space is dangerous. Space can be scary. And as you learned from making this movie, spaceships can be claustrophobic. Now, you need to remember this when you're making this new Han Solo movie. For instance, when Peter Hyams made Outland, he remembered those things. When Peter Hyams made 2010, the year we made Contact, he also remembered those things. And when Stanley Kubrick made 2001, A Space Odyssey, he also remembered that. When Ridley Scott made Alien, he remembered that. But when Ridley Scott made Prometheus, he forgot it. In Prometheus, the spaceships are too clean. They are too big. They're too bright. They're too beautiful. He had forgotten that space is dark and scary and claustrophobic. So Ron, when you make the Han Solo movie, please remember those things. And last of all, Ron, back in the early 70s, you made a movie with George Lucas called American Graffiti. You were just an actor at the time. He was the director. And I realize that this is not a movie about space. It is not a science fiction movie. But it was George Lucas when he was at his best. It was just before he put out Star Wars. It is a movie that appeals to a particular fan base. People who like hot rods, cruising for girls, and listening to the golden age of rock and roll. George couldn't get funding for the movie. The studios didn't want him to make it. The studios wanted to edit it their way. The studios wanted to release it as a made-for-TV movie. But George fought for his way. George ignored the studios. George ignored what the general masses wanted. George made a movie for a particular fan base. George made the movie he wanted to make. And not only did it become a big hit that is beloved by its entire fan base, but it also was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture. So Ron, don't think the studios know best. They don't. Trust your heart. Make the movie you want to make. Make the movie we want you to make. Ron, I'm not asking you to take one for the team. I'm just simply asking you to make one for the team. Make one for the fans. Don't make a movie that's going to appeal to everyone. Don't throw in scenes of romantic comedy. Don't throw in scenes of war movies. Don't throw in scenes of sports movies. Make a movie that appeals to lovers of science fiction. Ron, you served beneath my father in the Clone Wars, and I'm now begging you to make a movie for the fans. So please, help me, Obi-RON Kenobi. You're my only hope. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to post in the comment section below. So for now, good night, good luck, and may the Force be with you.